Okay, today I am going to show you our pantry. Now we have lived in this apartment for, well, I feel embarrassed to say it, but 16 years. And we are moving out at the beginning of 2025. We can hardly wait. Yes, we grew complacent. When we moved in here and that, it was just going to be a 3 or 4 years, but the rent was so low in comparison to what house payments were. And we had a lot of different things going on that we stayed a few more years and then a few, and here we are. And so we got lost somewhere along the way, and in the last year or two we found ourselves again. So we've always had our pantry in the back room. This apartment has radiant heat, so what that means is we have coils around the outer edges of the rooms. They heat up with a boiler system, hot water or warm water, 110 120 degree temperature water runs through the coils that are on the outer edges of the room, and then the heat moves to the inside. Unfortunately, we have cathedral ceiling, so a lot of heat rises, and what it does is it just steams up the doors and the windows, and we find, like in rooms like this, the coils don't work at all and never have. So it's kind of cool in here. In the wintertime it'll be about 62, so that's where we keep all of our pantry goods or things that we don't want to have melt or go bad. It stays quite cool as far as how it would be in the other parts of the apartment in the wintertime. So in the pandemic and that, of course, we were unlike other people. We did not stock up. One of the reasons why I'm not big on stocking up is I grew up with a mom that was very food insecure. So we had a lot of cupboards full of a lot of food. And back in the old days, I'm not sure if they dated canned products or jarred products, but as a kid, it was a constant struggle with all these different cupboards and passageways full of food, canned food, of figuring out which one had gone bad. And so oftentimes it was just a matter of those canned goods and bottled goods weren't used, and mom went out and bought more. And it was a real struggle for her. She grew up being raised by grandparents of the Great Depression, and she became in her life, she just became, like with the food insecurity, somebody that wanted to have lots and lots of canned goods and food goods. So when I got out on my own, I was poor for most of my life, so I could only afford the very bare basics, and I liked that. That was good enough for me. I've never ran out of anything, and even having a very modest pantry, we've done just fine. So during the pandemic, we didn't do anything different, except if it was something that was always in short supply, we bought an extra of it. So you may think that this is an awful small pantry, but for us, it's good. I want it to be better, and perhaps through comments and through talking back and forth, I will be given ways that I can do that, some suggestions, because I really don't have anyone around me or working with me or relatives or anything that are into building a pantry. So I would really welcome all suggestions. So we always have a good amount of ketchup and French's mustard, so we've got a backup of that, one in the refrigerator, a couple of bottles of ketchup. I still have one when I was doing Thrive Market. I love their ketchup. It's low in sugar, but then behind that, if you watched a recent haul, you will see there's my little Heinz that has no sugar added. We do drink tea here. We drink green and black, so I got one that has probiotics and ginger for upset stomach. We've got a 2-pack of peanut butter. Skippy is the kind that we like. I never ate peanut butter before, really didn't like it, didn't care for it, grew up on Jif and didn't like it, but once I started eating Skippy, I really enjoy Skippy peanut butter, and I make homemade peanut butter cookies. I've got an applesauce. My husband's got a couple backups for work, and then we have lime juice or lemon juice back there. We have 2 backups of Hellmann's. I got those at a special buy where they were $1.50 off each. I heard that Rails sensitive marinade or marinara is that how you say it, Rails? I'll have to see exactly how to say that correctly. That's a great spaghetti sauce. So we did find some of that for a reasonable price. I think it was under $5. So we'll try that versus what we always buy, which is Prego sensitive. I went from Chef Boyardee pizza sauce to Great Value. Great Values is $1.52, and it has less ingredients in it, so we are sticking with that and really liking that because I make homemade pizzas every week. I have some little packets of honey, some culinary lavender. All right, then we have on that shelf we have peanuts for the birds, and then we have all my spices. keep those back here. So just regular spices that you would use for cooking. And also the paprika and the cinnamon sticks and the garlic, salt, and the cinnamon, pumpkin spice, nutmeg, cardamom, allspice, ginger, stuff like that. Some crackers, open crackers, and I also use those when I make homemade meatballs. We have the vinegar. I buy 2 bottles at a time and use that for laundry. A cup when I wash towels, 1 can of tuna. Don't really eat tuna a lot. There's a lot of mercury in that, and it still hasn't been corrected. I don't know if it ever will in my lifetime. But every now and again, I buy raw honey. So I've got a jar of that here. I got another jar back here that I just recently purchased. So that will do me, at least for the year. We've got some maple syrup from Aldi. And then we have one that I bought in the fall from a local farm to go through. Still a couple of jams from TJ Maxx, some hazelnut spread for my husband. And then we just have some of these types of condiments. I don't use any condiments because they all have, a ton of preservatives and additives in that. But when my husband eats egg rolls from Aldi, we use this sweet and sour in particular, barbecue sauce, some dressing for my husband's salads. I don't use dressing. Here's a little ranch from Walmart, and then if you watched my haul, you saw me buy a bigger one from Aldi. Then we have some pickled beets for salads. And here we have this from Annie's. And then if you are gluten-free, you can buy this from Thrive, but I'm sure by now you can buy it from other places. It's gluten-free tamari sauce or soy sauce. And on the next shelf, we have jam. I buy that 1 or 2 jars at a time, and I start buying that in the fall. And that's what we feed our birds in the spring. So usually I have 18 jars of that. It's just under $3 a jar. I could buy a whole case if I wanted, but I want to leave jam behind for other people, because other than feeding it to birds, which is usually located back in the bird department, people also like to eat it. So I'm not going to buy cases at a time. So this will do us all spring, 18 jars of it, bought 1 or 2 jars at a time. I like Bob's Red Mill, so we do Bob's Red Mill baking powder and baking soda. And then we have some quick oats. And then I also have some gluten-free 1-to-1 flour by Bob. We have this water. I always like to have a good supply of water. I know a lot of people frown on that, but our city water isn't the greatest, and we do have a Berkey, but now Berkey is in a lawsuit because their filters apparently don't work correctly. So we bought a Brita, and well, we're just battling here trying to get some decent water. We have a backup of the all-purpose flour, some wheat flour for sourdough making, backup of sugar, and then the noodles. I have backups of elbow macaroni, and the backup of lasagna, and then the noodles that I'm making my husband's salads with, and lasagna because I make homemade lasagna. So that right now is a pantry, and that's it. I mean, there isn't another room or storage place where I've got goods. In the kitchen, we do have a great big, 5 or 6 pound jar for flour and sugar, and I have a few more spices out there, and we have some rice out there because at one time these shelves also had other things on them, and this was not as beautifully organized as I feel it is now for the first time in a long time. So that is it. It's sad to me because most of the stuff on this shelf I don't eat due to a health issue that we're still trying to figure out. I just can't eat things with preservatives and additives and flavoroids and all that. 5 ingredients is about it for me. So it is sad. And in a year's time, a lot of things that you see that are sugary, like the hazelnut spread and that, probably maybe even the applesauce will be a thing of the past because my husband is on a diet where he's trying to lessen sugar and carbs for an upcoming surgery. So this is our pantry. This is about all the space and room we have, but there's little nooks and crannies here I can put more things. So if you have some suggestions of things that you have in your pantry that you can offer in the comments of buy some of this and you'll never regret it, or you need to have some of this on hand for all this and that, I will definitely look into it and stock my pantry with it. Next, After this, I'm going to show you the shelf of shame. I'm not going to do it in this video, but it's the shelf of shame that we have that we are reducing as I speak. And hopefully I'll be able to update you with the shelf of shame in like 3 months and show you a whole different shelf. But just to know that I have been a lifelong sugar addict, that I have lessened my consumption of sugar by probably 80%. And my husband's been a lifelong snacker, heavy carb, heavy sugar, heavy chip and snacky snack between every meal. And he's also trying to change his lifestyle and his ways on his own. I don't think anyone's going to do it with people lecturing them or constantly prodding them. So he's doing it on his own. So that shelf is going to change drastically here in the next 3 months to 6 months. So I'll first show you a before, and hopefully down the road I will show you the after and what we're doing to change things. But this looks pretty good. I don't have any pictures from last year or the year before or even back in 2019. I wish I did, but it looked a lot different. So again, any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section, and I'll be happy to chat back and forth and add it to my pantry. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me for tonight's video all about my pantry. So as I said, as I gave a tour of the pantry and that, I really need some suggestions, some tips or hints or tricks of how to build a sustainable pantry. What I'm looking for is things that you have in your pantry that you wouldn't live without or do without. I know that sounds kind of silly coming from someone that's 59, almost 60 years old, but as I said earlier, I just never had the money or the desire to have a pantry. I did so much of that kind of stuff when I was growing up, managing a pantry, very large pantry, a very large hoard of food. And so as I got out on my own, that just was not an interest to me. And then since I've been out on my own, I have never really made enough money to build a solid pantry, and I'd like to do that now. So please leave any tips or hints or tricks or staples that you just can't live without down in the comments and that, and I'll be happy to read them and get back to you. Until then, I hope you're all well, and I'll see you again.